I've been trying to do it right. I've been living a lonely life. I've been sleeping here instead. I've been sleeping in my bed. I've been sleeping in my bed. So show me family.
Well, a friend of mine in college wanted to brew beer, and I thought it was best left for the pros, but he made a deal with me that he'd spring for the equipment if I'd split the ingredients with him. And so we brewed a few batches, and he left on a summer internship and left his beer brewing stuff, and we've just basically been hooked ever since.
Was your first batch any good?
No. No. It was basically worm food, but we drank it, and you know, they haven't all been great, but most of them have been pretty good, and it's just fun working on them.
I don't know where I belong. I don't know where I went wrong. I can write a song.
What got me in the hobby was just in Gillette a lack of, I guess, decent distributed beer. I mean, we get this stuff out of Colorado, but it wasn't a huge variety for me. So I wanted to start making my own, and just started small and moved up from the kitchen. Now I'm out in the garage with a full kitchen setup out there, so.
Cool.
Yeah.
Are you from Wyoming?
Been here most of my life, yeah. So, guess born in Canada, raised in Minnesota, moved out here when I was younger, so. Yeah. But not a lot of beer up in Minnesota either.
I belong with you, you belong with me, in my sweetheart. I belong with you, you belong with me, in my sweetheart.
Well, you can blame my wife for that one. She, for Christmas one year, said that she was going to buy me a home brew kit because she knew this store here in Gillette existed. She didn't that year. We set it up to buy each other gifts. And so that year I got into an NCAA tournament at work, and I happened to win. And so I took the winnings from that, and I bought my first beer kit, and that was last April. And from that I was hooked. And that first beer was horrible, just horrendously bad.
What was it?
But I did an American lager because that's all I drank up to that point. And so I thought, well, that's the kind of beer I like to drink, so that's the kind I'm going to brew. By the time I drank 50 bottles to bottle condition that batch, I wanted anything but an American lager, but I brewed it anyway. I followed the instructions on the kit, which you should do. Stuck it in a bucket for 7 days and stuck it in bottles. It was still fizzing when I stuck it in the bottles. I don't know why they didn't blow up. They should have. Every time you popped a lid, it'd shoot up into the air about 5-6 feet. Foam would shoot out. It was horrendously bad flavored. It had halted the fermentation in the actual bottle, so it kind of tasted like landfill mixed with Bud Light. It was bad. I mean, I drank one bottle to say I drank it. Burped for about 3 days. You just get in your stomach and fizz. It was horrible. But it was the best experience ever to brew it, so I was hooked anyway. That's what counts. So from that, I brewed about 5 or 6 more batches up in the kitchen using extract. They said, "Oh man, you got to go to a full boil to do anything," and said if I was going to go in it, I was going to go big. So dropped $5 grand, built a Herm system, and here's where I am today. Today I'm brewing the Skittle Brow. I had a friend from Minnesota who evidently is a Simpsons fan, and I'd never heard of it, tell me a story of Homer Simpson walks into Moe's one day after having a long day of work. And he says, "Moe, I'd like the beer they make candy, or they put candy in." And Moe goes, "They don't make a beer like that." And he goes, "Well, give me a 6-pack and a bag of Skittles." So I Googled Skittle Brow, and sure enough, there's an internet sensation where people are adding Skittles to beer. However, they're not doing it right. They're just adding it to beer and drinking it. Today, we're brewing with beer. So I'm making a Belgian wheat today, and when we get to the boil, I'll be using Skittles as my fermentable sugar. So,
how's that going to work? I mean, when do you put it into the beer?
I'll put it in. I'm doing a 90-minute boil. I'll put it in at the 90-minute mark.
I don't think you're right for him. Think of what it might have been if you took a bus to Chinatown. I'd be standing on Canal.
Hey, how's it batch?
Hey, well, we finally got going. Took me a little bit to get all my ducks in a row, but it's coming right along now.
What's your batch today?
It's bourbon cask ale with vanilla.
Oh, tell me about that.
Well, it was kind of a clone after Anheuser-Busch's bourbon cask ale with vanilla beans they made a few years ago, and I liked the taste of it, so short notice I decided that's what I was going to make today.
What kind of bourbon?
You know, that's going to be up for discussion. It may be what's in the refrigerator at the time. We'll check it out and see how mouthfeel is, and probably just either a good Kentucky bourbon of some kind, or I have some customers' bourbon that they've come across. We may inject that into the recipe.
Now, how much bourbon would you have to put in?
You know, it's pretty much by mouthfeel and how it tastes after you get your batch in the secondary, and then you can add that and kind of until you get it to a point where it's like I say, mouthfeel. You don't want to add too much to overpower your rest of your beer flavors, but just enough to give it that bourbon flavor, and then the vanilla beans or vanilla extract, whatever you put in it. You know, that's all got to play a part, so you kind of have to balance that.
What are you doing right now exactly?
Well, I had my strike water was a little bit warmer than what I had. I didn't calculate it out. I've been busy in the store, so we're doing it on the fly. It was just a little bit too warm, so I'm just letting it cool down a little bit, and then we'll cover it up and let it set for about 45 minutes and get the conversion going. So I'm just kind of cooling it down a little bit, rather than add some cool water, which I could do.
This place looks pretty busy. It's like you get quite a few people out today.
It's not bad. Yeah, it's good to have Brew Club down here, and we got to have customers from out of town come in. So it's always nice to see some new faces and new customers.
How often do you do this?
Well, this is our second year of the Big Brew Day, and then we'll probably try to have one or two through the summer and fall. Another day, or Teach a Friend to Brew Day is another date that we'll look at, and then I typically do a brew class for new brewers every month, and that just depends on what the class wants to do. If they want to do a simple beer, a beer kit or a box kit, or if they want to do an all grain, then pretty much up to them. I'll show them all grain, and sometimes if they want to, they can bring their own ingredient or buy their ingredients here, and we'll make it for them, and then they take that home. So it's done in class, and gives them a base how to start it and how to run it through the process of making their first batch of beer, and then they'll just take that home and pitch yeast on it, and it's ready to go right there.
Is there any reason to be intimidated about making your first batch?
No, not really. I mean, you can make it as complicated as you like. Typically, first batches are a can kit or a box kit. The directions are there. It's not rocket science, and it's a pretty easy process. And after you do the first one, first one or two of them. After that, you realize, this is fun, and there's nothing to be scared about. No matter what, it's probably going to be beer when you're done. So.
She be standing next to me. I belong with you, you belong with me, you're my sweetheart. I belong with you, you belong with me, you're my sweetheart.
Yeah, it's just a relaxing hobby for the most part, even though there's a lot of things that could stress a guy out. It's from cleaning to brewing to taking it all apart at the end of the day. It's kind of, I find it enjoyable, so. And then drinking it, of course.
How long did it take before you made a batch you liked? Or did you like it like your home brew from the beginning?
Well, I started out with just extract kits, so they always have that extract-y kit taste to them. But I only did about 2 of those before I got into all grain. And I wouldn't say I've made a beer I wouldn't drink or someone else wouldn't drink, but there have been a few that have been definitely a lot better than others.
What's the difference between an extract kit and an all grain kit?
Well, the extract kit, you already have all your syrups, basically your wort that you create from your all grain, what you get from the grains, it's basically in a syrup form. And you just boil and maybe add a couple little specialty grains. But with an all grain, I mean, you crush your grains, you create that wort, that syrup yourself into your boil kettle. And so a little more extensive process, but a little cleaner, more refined taste, I believe, comes from that. So.
I don't think you're right for him. Think of what it might have been. Took a bus to Chinatown. I'd be standing on Canal.
Does anyone, can anyone join your club, Zane?
Anybody. Doesn't matter.
21 and older.
Good call. Good call.
And female.
Must be 18 or older and female.
21 and older.
Hey, 21 to drink.
Is there any kind of initiation, beatings, anything like that?
Oh God, I hope so.
Yeah?
We need to add one.
Just make good beer. We'll make fun of you if you don't. No, we don't. We'll tell you what's wrong with it, though.
No, this is what life's about, beer and cigars.
Oh, that is